Now, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't read a lot of sports manga till now, and even the ones I have read and caught up to are the more popular series that you see all over the media. But even with that fact in mind, I can confidently say that Hinata's training arc from Haikyuu is up there with the other training arcs, and if not, the best sports anime has seen yet. Hey guys, DarkheroJosh here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about one of the best arcs in Haikyuu, the final arc, or at least the first part for now. So without further ado, let's get straight into this video. So for my Haikyuu manga readers, you know that after high school, Hinata decided to go to Brazil, which I know sounds pretty crazy for the anime onlys, or even still if you're a manga reader, the transition from Japan to Brazil, literally across the world from each other. So for those who haven't caught up to this point in Haikyuu, or just haven't tapped into the series at all, I'ma briefly explain how this idea came about. After Karasuno lost the game against Kamen Medai, we see year 2 Hinata talking to Coach Ukai about wanting to learn beach volleyball after he graduates and use it for training for indoor volleyball in the long run. This idea first came about since the training camp before the tournament, where they were doing 2v2s instead of the standard 6-on-6. In beach volleyball, instead of 12 players on the court, it's 4, making the responsibility on those 4 players to keep the ball in the air much harder. Having just 2 players on either side of the net means that they both need to be able to do everything from receiving to setting to hitting the ball over, and that's what Hinata wants to develop. Hinata wants to be a better all-rounded player who can shoulder the responsibility of the court instead of this one-trick pony who becomes predictable after a while. After asking around if there are any connections that could help Hinata, we see Coach Washijo of Shiotorizawa mention that there is an old alumni of his that made the jump between the sport and is now coaching an indoor junior league. The only problem is that he is in Rio, as in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, but that doesn't waver Hinata's decision at all, as he quickly says that he'll go. And after some looking into, the coach says to Hinata that after he graduates, he'll have to spend a good year to thoroughly prepare, and then after that, once he's actually in Brazil, he'll have 2 years, and that's about it. He who would climb the ladder must begin at the bottom. Seeing Hinata from chapter 1 or episode 1 becoming the top tier player that he is and hone his skills as a journey was fun to experience from a watcher slash reader's perspective, and in the Tokyo Nationals arc, we really see Hinata start to surprise us again and again and really just surpass his limits with each match. But now he's back to level 1, where he started. To make matters worse, he's in a whole different country and continent, practically alone and feeling more isolated than ever, being a foreigner in the country. I mean, he was making bread as the local Uber driver, so I gotta give props to where props is due for my boy getting his bag right. But all jokes aside, even though indoor volleyball and beach volleyball are essentially the same sport, the difference in terrain and setting really makes a bigger influence. In indoor volleyball, you wouldn't need to account for things like the wind influencing the play or worry about the sand nerfing your mobility. With beach volleyball being played with teams of 2, you are moving around much more to cover every area of the court, but the sand does not make it easy. The sand saps you of your strength and really takes a shot at your confidence in your own abilities as a player. In the process of Hinata leveling back up from level 1, he needs to relearn the fundamentals all over again and build a new foundation. With the sand being the unleveled and unstable terrain that it is, receiving and setting the ball becomes much harder to do, being that the foot placement wouldn't be as stable as it would be on solid ground. But above all that, he'd need to relearn how to fly. During season 4, Hinata was learning how to receive the ball better, but something like jumping was more like a natural skill that he's always had and made him the monster that he was. And he just needed to improve on that down the line like he did to perform the famous boom jump in the match against Nekoma. Although the sand wasn't working in Hinata's favor, nonetheless he still went about the situation in a more optimistic way, being that he reminded himself that he isn't in any rush, being that he has 2 whole years to improve. But this was really a matter of how long could he keep the act up? How much longer until his walls start crumbling down? Like everything in life, the good moments are always accompanied by the bad. This is what I'd like to call Hinata's bad day, or rough moment in this arc. He goes to work as usual to deliver an order, but as he enters the city, he becomes lost. After taking too long to find the location, causing the food to get cold, the customer obviously gets upset, which is reasonable and is all in her right, and complains about it to Hinata, but all he can do is apologize. Now, I'm sure in this point in the story, Hinata isn't too fluent in the language, so he possibly literally could only say sorry in this moment, but if the customer knew Hinata's situation, would she have been more understanding? Most definitely, but still knowing that, and despite that, Hinata still knew that it was his fault. Soon later, as he's close to home, he realizes that his bag's been open the whole time that he was delivering orders, and his wallet has gone missing, causing him to panic a little bit. But he still keeps his head high about it all and reminds himself that he is fine. After returning home to his roommate, we see Hinata use this opportunity to make conversation with him. His name's Pedro, by the way. And as Hinata asks him if he wants to eat dinner with him, Pedro cannot hear him due to having earbuds in his ear. Seeing this, Hinata decides not to disturb him and go back to his room. And as he looks at his lock screen being a group picture with him, Kageyama, Tsukishima, and Yamaguchi and Yachi as third years, he begins to crawl up into the corner as he can no longer keep his head high. Just like mostly everything in life, sports being no exception of course, it isn't just a physical game but a mental one as well. Already being shaken physically by how physically demanding it is to move around the sand, Hinata starts to go down a staircase of bad events that break him down even more, with a big one being the isolation moving across the world from all of his family and friends. Now, although I didn't move halfway around the world, I really understand where Hinata is coming from. After having to move homes and schools to a whole different city where I knew absolutely no one sucks, and no matter how hard I tried and how high I tried to keep my head up, it still felt like even the littlest, most inconvenience could bring me down. Not just being physically isolated, but Hinata chose a much different path from everybody else. Tsukishima and Yamaguchi went to college, while Kageyama went straight to the V-League, while Hinata feels like he's moving backwards, having to relearn the basics of volleyball all over again. What I really admire about this moment is that even though he has all the reason to be upset and all the time to, being that he, again, 2 years, he gets up and he works through it as he quickly gets on his bike and pedals as fast as he can to the nearest beach. Sure, he could have eaten and went to sleep then. I mean, he's already got everything he needed to do that day done, but he still decided to go out to bring his mood up. As he sees some people of all ages playing some volleyball together, we see a loose ball slip from the man's hands. We then see Hinata quick to set the ball. As he starts to play with them, we see that he manages to dig the ball up well for his teammate to hit over the net. Slowly realizing as strict as the sand can be, it can be equally forgiving as well. At this moment, he unexpectedly meets an old friend from high school that I'm sure surprised most of us during our first read. Enter the Great King. Now, I love this guy Oikawa. During the first and second season of the anime, he was absolutely one of the best players Kurasuno was able to go up against and fortunately beat. Now, Oikawa's role with this reintroduction in Brazil is to really show Hinata that even someone who's as good as him and plays for the Argentinian league, that it's not just him who is on a different path. That taking different routes in life to get to where you want to be at the end of the day is okay. They later play a game playing alongside each other, and even though, like Hinata was at first, caught off guard by the difficulty that the sand brings to the sport, Oikawa quickly adapts to it and is able to set Hinata pretty well after a few games, accounting for things like the change in wind current and all that. Hinata was really beating himself up due to the fact that playing on the sand was difficult, but seeing another player like Oikawa, who's debatably better than him, still share the same struggle, at least for a while, kind of gives you that reassurance that they're just like me, and you stop thinking so negatively about yourself, thinking that you're so different from everybody else. Kind of like a bringing you back to earth type of feeling. While they're playing and manage to get a pretty good set to get the next point, Oikawa says something that I think should be taken with a lot of value with it. He pretty much says that when you're always trying to push to new heights, it's expected that the rough times outweigh the fun ones. But every now and then, when those fun times do arrive, they just hit that much harder. And it's that fun feeling that keeps pushing you forward to the next moment and the moment after that. To sort of simplify what he means, he's pretty much saying that you can't have good times without the bad. And if everything in life had no difficulty, it wouldn't feel as achieving and you wouldn't get that much enjoyment out of it at that. If you played sports and all you did was play against teams that put up no challenge all the time, you wouldn't find enjoyment out of it, and ultimately that fun wouldn't hit the same as if you were going up against a challenge and win. Same goes for content creation. You wouldn't be able to really feel the satisfaction from one of your videos doing well if you were pulling the same amount of high numbers from the jump. You wouldn't be able to capitalize on it either, and when it's gone you start regretting it, or sometimes you can't even take the accountability for it and blame it on something like the platform or the algorithm or whatever it may be. To be successful in whatever you want to do, you need to be able to take the good with the bad, but don't let the bad derail you from your goal. Someone like Hinata is able to push through because of this too. He even says that getting good at something new is always fun. He's not saying that it won't be hard at first, but in the long run, going back on it and knowing that you pushed through to get good at something that one day you were like, hey, I want to try this, will always fill you with that satisfaction. After this reunion, with Oikawa leaving, this gives Hinata more drive than ever when he first arrived in Brazil to keep going, and by doing so his whole life changed for the better. From his relationship with Pedro to volleyball, all of it, making him completely forget about that little depressive moment that he had. And it even got to the point where he was so well known at being so good at the sport, he gained the title, Ninja Shoujo. Now, although the last match that we see Hinata play beach volleyball with Santana didn't have a lot of significant or key moments that I'm going to mention in this video, this match just displayed how much better of a player Hinata has gotten because of beach volleyball in the past 2 years. In this match, he isn't just hitting, but he's also receiving the ball much better than he ever was before. His feet are moving much quicker on the sand to catch up to the ball, earning him that nickname of Ninja Shoujo. And he's even able to hit the boom jump on the sand, making me wonder on my first read how high he'll be able to jump on the court. This was a match where everything that Hinata learned in Brazil put all together to help Santana win. And although they didn't win in the end, they still played a wonderful match without a doubt. This arc was really amazing, and there's a lot to be taken from it as a life lesson moving forward. Even if you play a completely different sport or no sports at all. Even though this was a reread for the sake of this video, it even helped me today to sort of remind me why I do what I like to do, even if the results aren't showing when I want them to, and put me back on track. If you did enjoy this video, then please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and comment down below what other things Haikyuu do you guys want me to talk about on the channel next. Also, go follow the Twitter and join the Discord. Both links are in the description. But without further ado, I hope you guys have a great day, and see ya.